What if the people who slowly disappear from everyone's life aren't cold or arrogant or broken at all? What if they simply began to notice something about human nature that most of us go an entire lifetime without ever seeing? You may have felt the edge of this yourself. The messages you leave unanswered a little longer than you once did. The invitations you let pass. The strange, growing distance from people you genuinely used to enjoy. If any of that feels familiar, here is the first thing worth knowing. You are not antisocial, and there is nothing wrong with you. Psychologists have found that as a person's self-awareness deepens, they naturally become more careful about where they spend their time, their attention, and their emotional energy. So let's look at what's really going on. The actual psychological reasons that intelligent, deeply self-aware people tend to pull away from the people around them. There are a few of them, and they build on one another. But it's the last one that's the most surprising, because it turns the whole idea of disappearing completely on its head. It begins with a kind of awareness that most people never quite develop. Most people look at others. Deeply self-aware people slowly begin to read them. For a while, life feels ordinary. Friends make you laugh. Conversations feel warm, and you take people at their word because you've never had a reason not to. And then something shifts. You start to catch the smaller things underneath the words. The smile that never quite reaches the eyes. The compliment with a thin thread of envy running through it. The friend who only appears when they need something. The person who says they support you, and then goes quiet the moment you do well. You weren't looking for any of it. Your mind simply started linking together behaviors that once seemed unrelated. Psychologists call this pattern recognition, and the more experience and awareness you gather, the faster and more automatic it becomes. Here's the part no one warns you about. Once you have truly seen a pattern, you can no longer unsee it. People don't look any different. They only feel different. And that change in how people feel to you is where the distance begins. Not because these people stop caring, but because they stop confusing attention with genuine connection.
The second reason surprises people, because it looks like the opposite of what it is.
Intelligent people don't withdraw because they've come to enjoy being alone. They withdraw because past a certain point, too much noise begins to feel exhausting. Research suggests that people with higher self-awareness spend far more mental energy reading conversations, emotions, and situations. While others simply hear the words, they hear the intention underneath them. While others are enjoying the moment, some part of them is reading the whole room. This kind of awareness is a genuine gift, and it is also, honestly, tiring. A conversation that once felt exciting starts to feel predictable. A friendship that once felt equal starts to feel one-sided, and even a crowded room can begin to feel strangely empty. This isn't them deciding they're better than anyone. It's that they've stopped finding something real in the surface of things. So the question underneath their whole social life changes. It stops being how many people know me, and it becomes who actually understands me. And that single question narrows the circle, because depth and noise were never able to share the same room. The third reason is something the psychologist Carl Jung understood more deeply than almost anyone. Jung believed that until we make what is unconscious inside us conscious, it will go on running our lives, and we'll call it fate. As a person's awareness grows, they begin to notice this at work in everyone around them. They realize that so much of what people do was never really about them at all. The one who criticizes you may be unsettled by how far you've come. The one who talks over you may never have been taught how to listen. The one who constantly needs your attention may simply be frightened of being unseen. They aren't reacting to you. They're reacting to something inside themselves that you were never able to fix. Jung had a name for this: projection, the way we cast our own fears and insecurities onto the people in front of us. And once you understand it, you stop taking everything so personally, and you stop pouring your energy into changing people who never asked to be changed. This is not emotional coldness, because emotional intelligence was never about feeling less. Psychologists describe it as the ability to understand your own emotions and the emotions of others without letting those emotions take the wheel and drive your decisions. That is why deeply self-aware people don't argue with every provocation, don't answer every message the instant it arrives, and don't chase every relationship that asks to be chased. Not because they've stopped caring, but because they've learned something most people miss for years. every yes to the wrong person is a silent no to their own peace. And so they begin doing something that, from the outside, can only look like withdrawal. They become intentional. Intentional with their time, with their attention, and with the small, finite amount of emotional energy any one person actually has to give. Because the people you keep closest are always shaping who you become. And this is when nearly everyone misreads them. People assume that anyone who steps back must have come to dislike others. The truth is very nearly the opposite. They haven't fallen in love with loneliness, they've fallen in love with clarity. For the first time in a long while, silence stops feeling empty. It becomes a place where they can finally hear their own thoughts, without the constant weight of everyone else's expectations pressing against them. Modern psychology suggests that healthy solitude, the kind that is chosen, not forced, can genuinely deepen self-reflection, steady the emotions, and improve the way we make decisions over time. So they use it. They read more, they think more slowly, they question beliefs they once accepted without ever asking. And gradually, something remarkable happens. They stop needing approval from people who never truly understood them in the first place. Because real confidence was never built from applause. It is built over time from self-respect.
And that brings us to the last reason, the one that reframes everything before it. Intelligent people almost never disappear overnight. They disappear one realization at a time. One day, they stop arguing with someone who already decided not to understand them. Another day, they stop chasing a friendship that only survives when they're useful. And then, without any announcement, they begin building a life that no longer depends on constant approval. From the outside, it can look sudden, but inside, that decision has been growing for months, sometimes years. So here's the truth most people get wrong. These people didn't become distant because they think they're better than everyone. They simply became more intentional about where they invest a life that is genuinely limited. To the world, it looks as though they disappeared, but that was never what happened. They didn't disappear from the world, they finally stopped disappearing from themselves. The people who seem to vanish are so rarely getting lost. More often, they are just, at long last, finding themselves. So if you felt this pull to step back lately, don't ask whether something has gone wrong with you. Ask instead whether you're finally walking toward the life that was always meant to be yours. And maybe that, right there, is where your next chapter begins. If any of this described your own life, then stay a while, subscribe, and let this be a place you come back to whenever the noise grows loud again. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Who have you quietly stepped back from lately, and what did that space give you? Take good care of your peace.